So hello, Emma. Welcome to Escape the Rat Race Radio. How are you today?
I'm fine. Thank you very much for inviting me.
You're very welcome. I can see the glorious sunshine and blue skies behind you. Where in the world are you right now?
I'm in sunny Balham, so southwest London, not far from you.
Just down the road from me. So Emma, great to have you on the show today. And I'm really looking forward to hearing your story, and I'm sure our listeners will as well. And would you mind giving us a little bit of background about your company that you currently run and what that involves on a day-to-day basis for you at the moment?
Okay, so I run First Aid for Life, onlinefirstaid.com, and First Aid for Pets. And I also have a social cause called Stay Safe, staysafe.support, which my business has enabled me to fund and set up. So First Aid for Life is practical first aid training. So just as St John or the Red Cross or other first aid training providers are able to offer, except we're all medical, health and emergency services professionals. So onlinefirstaid.com is allowing us to scale the business, so they are provided as blended learning with the practical training that we'll go to later, and also online first aid training so that we can sell that internationally. And that's been written by myself and with other first aid experts, and it's enabled me to scale. Mm-hmm. And firstaidforpets.net, which is a brand new market. It's mainstream in the US. So St John and the Red Cross offer First Aid for Pets as one of their everyday offerings. It's a brand new market in the UK. We haven't quite got enough competitors to make it completely viable, but we have the Times newspaper coming to join us on Monday to come and write about us. And we get quite a lot of publicity because it's newer and it's directly related to First Aid for Humans, because it's very similar and the same principles apply. So we've worked with vets to create those courses, and I have written books that accompany the pet side and the human side.
Very good. And you've had the business for a number of years now, Emma. When was it that you set up?
2007, so okay. a long time. We're well established.
Yeah, and would you mind sharing with our listeners what it was that you were doing before you obviously started your own business?
Absolutely. So I was a nurse. So my background is nursing. I trained at St Thomas's eons ago, and I've worked all over the place in nursing, from burns units to paediatrics to Wandsworth Prison, and really enjoyed my nursing, and then went into hospital management as a clinical manager. So I worked at Hammersmith and Charing Cross for 10 years, and then children does muck up your career a little bit. We do love them though. So I became an ESOL teacher. So I gained a teaching qualification that I was able to use as well. And then I was able to combine all those things together and start up a first aid training business, which was something I'd always been passionate about doing.
So the key there is you actually started, right? You actually took action and you did something. So
absolutely,
many Escape the Rat Race listeners, they are still currently employed and on that commute every day back and forth to work, and perhaps not enjoying the work as much as they could do, thinking that there's perhaps greater things out there for them in life. So how did you come about sort of making that decision? Obviously, you knew you had a family on the way and things needed to perhaps change. You needed a bit more time, I'm presuming. I'm sure it was very demanding, your job. But how did you just kind of figure out in your head how you were going to transition from a monthly paycheck to actually generating an income from a business? And, at what point did you say, okay, well, it's the right time to make the switch?
I don't think there's ever a right time. So I think you just have to do it. It's just like you'll never get it perfect. So if you are forever striving for perfection, then you will never do it. And there will always be doubters. I remember my cousin saying to me, oh, but, Emma, will anyone ever pay £25 for a course? It's like, well, yes, and a lot more as well, because we have run very quality courses, and it will be a viable business. And and it will grow. So have confidence and faith in yourself. Obviously speak to others as sounding boards because they're very useful, and listen to them as a reality check. But if you feel confident that it is right for you, then do it. And it will be hard work. So only start something if you are passionate about it. I'm a mentor for small businesses through the British Library. And one of my first mentees was, well, she called herself a serial entrepreneur, but actually they hadn't screened her properly. And she had lots of ideas that she never got any of them off the ground. So she shouldn't have got in the process, and she wasn't possible to mentor.
Right.
Because the premise of what they are offering is that you have to have a viable business that is actually making some money, or at least it's trading. So she thought she was a serial entrepreneur, but she was a serial dreamer. And there's a big difference. And there's quite a few serial dreamers out there. And there are also people that actually go with it. And unfortunately, when you look at the statistics, women are statistically more likely to strive for perfection before we will launch. I think there was a stat that said something like, different market, but looking at the job market, if a man applies, or if a woman applies for a job and it has set criteria, they will only apply for the job if they have all those criteria, if they tick all the boxes. Whereas a man will apply for the job, huge generalization here, but a man will apply for the job if they can tick 60% of those boxes. And I think women very often do overthink it, and they do want to get it absolutely right. And if you are overthinking it all the time, you'll never do it. So do it, get it as good as you can, get a beta type, and go. Yeah. And if you're still working in your business at the same time, in your day job, then that's what you have to do. But put that time to one side, use your evenings, manage your time differently, make those extra hours, create what you want to create, and launch it. And then when you get to a point that you are making enough money that you can then leave your day job, then do it. And if you haven't got to that point, but you can see the potential, you might have to take the plunge anyway, because there will be some businesses which you simply will not be able to grow whilst doing a full-time job. It's not possible, because it takes a lot of time to get your business off the ground. So you might need to think of some financial bridging in order to get yourself so that you can start it.
Yeah, totally agree there. And it will be different for every person, right? You have to take into account your circumstances. And as you say, when you perhaps get rid of the job, you might not have quite the same amount of money. You might have to make some sacrifices. But if you're then going to have all that more time, then, is that going to be the payoff that you're going to be able to then, increase your revenue quickly that way? So, one of the other things I'm interested to learn about from you, Emma, is really the proof of concept. So back in 2007, how did you validate your idea? How did you kind of assess the market and prove to yourself that, yes, there are people out there willing to pay? And what were some of the steps that you took to go about that?
Well, a bit of clear research. So there's lots of people with great ideas, and it's easier if you start with a proven idea where there are competitors in the market. So lots of times when I'm talking to people, they're looking for that unknown, exciting, nobody's done it before, so there's got to be a market. Yes, for some industries that is right, but actually very often for the majority, if there's no one doing it out there, there may not be a market, or you have to create the market, and that's a much slower process. So that's what I'm doing with the dogs. It's a tiny market at the moment because it's so new. For onlinefirstaid.com, we were one of the first to market. So again, in the UK, for First Aid for Life, we're in a very mature market and an exceptionally crowded market with no barriers to entry, and that's got very different sort of challenges to it. So do your research, find out. It's so easy with online. It's so easy to Google to see different search terms. Is somebody actually looking for what you are likely to offer? And if they're not looking for it directly because it doesn't exist, are they looking for different things that are they asking the questions that your product or service can solve? So that can let you have an idea as to whether there is actually a market.
Yeah. And
is that the sort of thing that you were looking at?
Yeah, and this comes down to, the argument over quality versus price. And, often, going too cheap, that can bring its own problems, right? I know that's something you've addressed as well.
Absolutely. That was some of the best advice I was given when I started by someone who said, don't go in too cheap. I mean, if you go in at the cheap end, then generally you're offering lower quality. You're in a more fickle marketplace where they will play you off quicker against other competitors. Whereas if you differentiate on quality or differentiate with a proper, clear point of difference, then you're in a much easier marketplace to operate in, and you'll make it much easier for you. And if you start with your strategy as a price-based strategy, it's very hard to then move to a quality one. Whereas, so think out very carefully what sort of market you want, what sort of customers you want. So I'd say, first of all, you've got to be doing something you're passionate about. It's going to be keeping you up at night. The idea of you escape the rat race and you've got more time, you've got more flexible time, but actually, if I go out, so if I take a day off and go and have a really nice day and go and do, I don't know, something in the summer holidays with my family, I then have to make up that time that I've taken out and probably work later in the evening, or maybe work through some of my weekend, because actually that time and the things that need to be done don't go away, even with delegation and apportioning a lot of the stuff. And that's something else I feel very passionate about, that you can't do everything and you shouldn't be doing everything. People very often, particularly when they start out, think, well, if I'm not paying someone, then it's a saving. But it's not a saving, because if you work out how much your time is worth based on what you're selling yourself at or your product out, then you will soon find out that actually your time is worth a lot more than the amount you could be paying for someone to do your admin, or take your banking type things and all that the finance element away, or some of the other type of tasks which you can end up getting buried into, and then you're not being productive. Because if you're training all the time, so all the different trainers, be it your personal trainers or coaches or whatever, if you're out there training, then you're not there answering the phone and replying to emails, which is where your business is coming in. You can't be in 3 places at once.
Yeah, I totally agree. We were having this conversation last night between our inner circle mastermind group, and talking about these $10 tasks, like designing things online or creating a lead magnet to try and build your mailing list. And it's a $10 task that you could go to a website like Fiverr or outsource it somewhere, and it would be done for you in a day, as opposed to you trying to learn some new software or trying to be a designer when you're not a designer. And you're absolutely right. I think a lot of people at the beginning, though, will question and ask, well, if I haven't really got much money coming in at the beginning, how can I afford to outsource and have other people do these things for me? And that's a difficult balance, isn't it? Is knowing when is the right time to start outsourcing and when not. And any advice on that?
I think you need to listen to yourself and your family, because there are only so many hours in the day. And if you are stretching yourself too far and too thin, then you're not going to be any good to anyone, to your work or to yourself or to your family. So there are all sorts of ways, as you said, of outsourcing. I mean, my graphic designer is in Buenos Aires. So You can work remotely with so many different people. You can share someone to help with your admin. But until you are happy and comfortable outsourcing at least some elements, even if it's someone just to answer your phone whilst you're training, you're not going to be able to scale. You're not going to be able to grow. And until you are able to grow, you're actually not in business. You are operating as a one-man band, which is purely training your time for money. And until you've gone when you are trusting somebody else to deliver, and yes, they will deliver as well as you, and they will deliver differently, and your clients will like them, and they will deliver better than you in an awful lot of ways. So until you're able to offer that, you can't scale. I mean, some days, on inset days, we've got a couple of, I think in September, end of August and September, we've already got bookings for 9 or 10 trainers on one day. So I couldn't do that myself. There's no way. So if I haven't been able to offer that scalability, and yes, that takes time, because you want quality trainers, because they're out there and they are being you, and they're being the front of your business. So don't rush in. Take it steadily. Understand what your core values are. So you've got to be at a point where your business has got an entity. So you are able to communicate clearly what your mission is and what your values are and what you're trying to achieve, so that you can empower somebody else to do that alongside you or on your behalf. And if you're in a business where actually, do you know what? It is only you that can deliver it. And I know some people are in that sort of niche business where it is, then outsource everything else.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be fiddling with your receipts and things. Get a bookkeeper to do that for you. There needs to be somebody else, and they can be done virtually, and you can do it very cheaply. But again, go back to what you were saying about the $10 tasks. Go back, look at your time, value your time, and make sure that you are able to bring it in at less than you would be spending yourself. And also think of your sanity and the sanity of those around you, because if you are a frazzled heap, your business isn't going to grow, and there's no point in leaving the rat race. And sadly, that's why so many businesses fail in that first 5 years. And so many people do end up going back to being employed again, which is very sad, because if they've got that passion and they want to make it all happen, then they should be able to do it. But it just takes a thought process to understand what you're doing and why you're doing it.
So I'm keen to kind of rewind you back to that first year of your business, Emma.
Okay, and, it was hard work.
Yeah, what were some of the realizations? And obviously, your business looks very, very different today to how it looked then. And you've got many online trainings now. And back in 2007, I mean, we're probably talking about the launch of YouTube, and these platforms were only just kind of becoming popular then. So, how did it go that first year? What were some of the real realizations that someone starting a business perhaps doesn't think about until they're actually in the thick of it?
Well, there's all sorts of things that you can save money on. So my initial logo was produced myself by word art, and looking back at it, it's not something I'm proud of. And it looks much better with a properly designed logo, which in fact my properly designed logo I did through 99 Designs. I don't know if you've used that. Again, it's a very cheap way of going forward, but you need to have some money in the bank first. So we've never had external funding, and I didn't want external funding. So, any money we needed, I had to earn to set it up. So initially, word art is free. Create it. Canva's another great free, much smarter. That wasn't available in 2007.
Love Canva. But yeah.
Canva is magic. Canva is just the most amazing, and the paid one is worth going for as well. But 2007 Canva didn't exist. It was word art. It was not great, but actually it got me out there. So then I'm trading. So I sat down I worked really hard. I wrote all my course materials. I created it all. And then I was ready to go. And one of the very first people I trained was Sarah Beanie. So that was slightly nerve-wracking. So I went along, and then she wrote me a really fabulous review. And then suddenly I'm there. So actually setting up a business is surprisingly easy, isn't it? It's really easy. You go to Company's House,
it's like
and you choose
£15,
a business name,
15 minutes, and you're up and running, really.
You're in business. It's like, whoa, this is quite exciting. And then you choose your website and your trading name, and off you go. Don't spend a huge amount on websites initially. You need a shop window, and it needs to be smart. But actually, a good quality WordPress one, you can probably get a very simple but slick WordPress website set up for not very much money. As it is your shop window, I would say don't cut corners on that, but also don't be extravagant. So just be frugal, have a simple one with a couple of pages that's nicely set out, and again, don't go for perfection. You need a shop window where people can find you. You need to work on your search engine optimization, which you can do yourself. So if you've got a WordPress site, and again, I would say don't go for a standalone bespoke site. Get something like WordPress, because if it gets in any difficulties, or if you need new plugins that you want to put in, you can get that done for you very cheaply through Fiverr or through somewhere else. So if you've got a WordPress site, you're keeping your options open. Whereas if you go for a bespoke site, it's going to cost you an awful lot up front. It's going to become obsolete, and you're going to be in the pocket of whoever's designed that for you forever for any changes. So WordPress, you can do the simple changes yourself, and you can probably, I would say it's worth going on a basic WordPress course yourself, which again you can do online, so that you know the basics, so that you can set it up. It's user friendly. And then you've got your shop window out there. You want some business cards, so Moo is what I'd use, because again they're cheap and they're nice to design and they look slick. So whatever you want to be showing people actually you're bigger than you are. And please don't go around telling people, oh, I'm a new startup. So you're there, you're in business, you're doing a grand job, doing whatever you're doing, and you will always be very well prepared when you're straight client facing, and you will do absolutely spot on, brilliant job. And all the little fancies about getting your logo perfect and things can all be tweaked and changed when you've got more money to do it.
That's right. And as I'm sure you'll agree, at the beginning, you just put out your kind of version one, right? Your website, your logo, even how you describe what your business does is a version one, and it's going to change so many times probably over those first 12, 24 months that, as you rightly say, don't spend a lot of money, because 3 months later, it's probably going to change anyway.
And it should change, because you will learn. I mean, the whole point of being in business and doing business well is to get feedback from people and to learn. And the whole beauty of being a small business is that we can move. So if things aren't quite what we want, have a strategic plan. So have a strategy in place and have your clear objectives. But if things in the marketplace come through, or if opportunities come through, be prepared to say yes, and be prepared to then think out of the box as to how you can supply whatever someone's come. Grab those opportunities, because they may not come again. So there's usually a way, if a bigger bit of work comes your way, providing it's paying sufficiently to make it worth your while. So be very careful with low-cost tenders, because you don't want a lot of work at below cost. So be very aware of what your costs are to supply whatever you're supplying, be it a service or be it a physical good. Be very aware what your fixed costs are and what your variable costs are, so that then you are sorting out. And if initially you're not making a profit, doesn't matter so long as you're covering your costs. It might matter if you're supporting your family. In my situation, it didn't matter initially. I had a little bit of cushioning, and so I was able to work my way through. Don't offer free. There's, for my online courses, I can offer free because I've covered my costs and I haven't got fixed costs to worry about. So I've got much more flexibility. For your practical training or your coaching or your whatever else you're doing, particularly service-based, people are really tempted to offer it for free. I would urge against that, because what happens, particularly things like if you're setting up a children's activity, there's a culture where, believe it or not, there's a whole load of parents that actually go for the freebies. Mm-hmm. And they can take their children to lots and lots of different clubs, particularly in the likes of Balham and Wimbledon, mm-hmm. and never have to pay. Yeah. And there's no loyalty there. So, you can do other incentives, but people will always ask you to do it for free. And I would honestly say that people don't value free. Mm. They value extra value. They value different ways of doing it. There's ways of, them coming at a discounted price or giving them extra value on top. But free puts you in the wrong marketplace, and it can come back and bite you on the bum, because people will expect it to be free again, or their friends will want it for free because you did it for free for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The only time I would recommend to clients that I work with to do something for free is perhaps in that very, very early validation stage, just to do 2 or 3 to get the feedback, and also to use as a testimonial, and only just, in that very instance there. But I totally agree that when you offer things for free, we're both authors, right? And if people want a copy of the book, if you give it away to someone for free, chances are they're not going to read it, because as you rightly said, they just don't value it.
Actually, I disagree on that. I do give my book away for free.
I do as well. Sure. Yeah. but I don't think many people read it when they get it for free, as opposed to when they pay for it.
Again, I think it depends why you've written the book. So I think your book can be your ultimate business card. So I've got some here because I've just got back from the Royal College.
And we are recording on video, so anyone listening to the audio podcast, then check out the YouTube or Escape the Rat Race, because we're looking at the books right now.
Looking at the books. Okay, so if I give this to you because you're interested in, you're interested in child first aid, and I give this to you, particularly if you're running a school, if I send this to you, it's going to mean far more than me sending a business card. It actually says, do you know what? There's some authority here. She knows what she's talking about. She's working with the Child Accident Prevention Trust. This one's working with Age UK and ROSPA. It positions you, and it depends why you've written your book. For me, it was a positioning, and it was, as I said, an authority statement, and it's opened up a lot of doors. I have this for free in various promotions on my site, where people can pay postage and packing, which covers my costs, and then I will send it out for free. For core clients, I will post a copy of for my schools, I'll post a copy of this out with a brochure, and it works. It doesn't always work, but it works. So I wouldn't go and do a free taster class. I have done in the past, and I've never got business from it, or very, very rarely. So Mothercare, for example, used to have people, they still do have people going in for free, but actually people aren't valuing it because they're in Mothercare because they want to go and get the discounted evening, buying the special offers that Mothercare are offering, and they're not listening properly to free their head when they're coming to whatever you're offering. So going back to your children's activity side, if the mother just wants to take the child along and entertain them, and they can do that for free, and everyone has a nice time and then they try something else. It's a different way to them actually really trying to try out something to see if they then want to commit and become loyal to that. So a better way would be maybe to offer a rebate on the first course if they then commit to pay for 10 weeks up front, or you have an extra bag of goodies or something that you get if you come and join it. But what you want is that longevity and that customer loyalty. Mm-hmm. And I think it's rare that you get that from free on a coaching training type thing. I think for coaching, a 10-minute telephone fact-finding call is absolutely valid and essential and a really good way. But sometimes people are tempted to offer an hour long, and then you find that people are milking you for the paid stuff.
Definitely.
Which is different from a 10-minute fact finding.
Yeah.
The other thing that's really useful that can fit in with that, if you want your fact finding and then take your customer through an even better sales journey, is to start with something like a quiz. Mm-hmm. So they can work really well to evaluate where someone is, and then you follow them into your 10-minute phone call.
Yeah.
And then you can take them on the journey to whatever it is that you offer.
And all of this, of course, would fall under the banner of marketing, and marketing is an essential skill of any business. If people don't know that you exist, then you're going to struggle. So absolutely. What marketing experience did you have when you started your business, and how has this evolved over the last 11 or 12 years, Emma?
Well, when I was a hospital manager, I was sent off to do my diploma in management studies and various things by Hammersmith Special Health Authority, as it was then. And the marketing I learned then, although the basic premise of what you're doing was sound in terms of taking someone through your awareness, interest, desire, action, and that side, and whatever it's being called now. Yeah. However, there was no social media. So in terms of, learning marketing and learning the very sort of core, slightly cold elements that you learned before, it's so different that it's actually fairly worthless in many ways, what I learned previously. What you're doing now, it's amazing. There are so many opportunities to get yourself noticed. Absolutely, just huge. People like video. People like blogs as well. Now, very often people are saying, do you know what, the days of the blog are dead. I disagree. Certainly in my marketplace, I made the decision when I started to go into to do content marketing. That's what I did. Whether I called it that or not is neither here nor there. But I had a WordPress blog, and the beauty of keeping your blog fresh and up to date means that when the little Google spiders go across looking for anything new, if you are regularly blogging on your site, they will always find something new. And that means that in Google land, there is always, you've got an active site that will encourage people to come. If you are then going to Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn, and you're driving people from those audiences through to your site, then Google says, wow, you've got new visitors coming all the time. That's really exciting. This must be quite a good site. And if you're able to do that more and more, then they rank you higher. And if you write, so I write for myself, I also write for the Nursing Times, for the British Dental Journal, for the British Journal of School Nursing to get authority, but also links. I write for the British Library. A link from the British Library is hugely valuable. A link from the Nursing Times is hugely valuable. I write for the Mail Online. People go, oh, the Mail Online, it's not very highbrow. But you know what? The Mail Online is one of the highest read.
Yep, millions.
And my market read it. So people say, the important thing is hang out where your customers are. And initially I didn't quite understand what they were going on, because in the pediatric market, it's like, well, I don't really want to be hanging out with the kids all the time. It's not, I've done that. But if you think about who's buying for the kids, it's the parents. So I want to hang out with the new mums. It doesn't mean physically hang out necessarily, although I was physically hanging out with my GPs at the Royal College of General Practitioners this morning. It's about understanding where your market is likely to come into contact with you. Because, as we've all heard, in order to know, like, and trust you, they're going to have to see you at least 7 times in different places. So if they can see me in the mail when they open the newspaper, if they can then follow up and see I come up maybe a couple of days later on the mail online, and then they are sitting in their GP surgery and they pick up, I don't know, a copy of my book because I've given it to them for free.
Yeah.
And if they then see a flyer that I've got, because I've got nicely printed flyers that people like because it's got things they want to keep. So if they then see a flyer on a friend's fridge, mm-hmm. and someone shares something that I've written on Facebook or Twitter, then suddenly I'm in their head. Mm-hmm. And I've gone from somebody that they're sort of vaguely aware of. They may not need me yet. They may have no interest in buying from me. But if they have an accident and they found that they didn't know how to help, or if they are pregnant and they want to know how to help their new baby, or if their teenager wants to do their Duke of Edinburgh and wants to know how to do, wants to do their skill, mm-hmm. then suddenly, if they're looking on Google, they're searching, and I come up, I'm familiar to them. And none of that will have cost me very much, although Facebook is now a paid platform. Mm-hmm. And I think we, as a business, we all need to understand that to push it properly, you will need to pay. In terms of Google ads, I got burnt quite early on with Google ads, but actually I'm back to them again, mm-hmm. and they're working for me. I understand everything much better now. And in fact, Google will help you for free. So when you start spending a certain amount on a regular basis, and that's not a huge amount, but it's a certain amount, on Google or on Facebook, they will contact you and they will offer you free marketing advice. So one-to-one call with someone who knows what they're doing for about an hour, and they will share screens and they will take me through setting up my ads the way that will perform best. And then when I get reports back, they will then help me to optimize them. And that's invaluable.
That is great advice. Great advice.
Yeah, because otherwise you will get, when you set up in business, you will become a target for all sorts of people that go through Companies House and they target new businesses, and you will be offered everything. You will be offered things. People want you to advertise in their magazines that are, you've got to do because your audience is there, and they'll be charging you hundreds of pounds. People will offer you different finance things. They will be targeting you through Companies House. Don't be too flattered by it. It's tempting to be, and don't part with your money. Mm-hmm. Unless it really is, do your due diligence on. So due diligence, sometimes it might be the opportunity of a lifetime, but very often there's a hidden catch. So be a little bit canny as well, because as well as you marketing out there, you're the target of a lot of other people's marketing campaigns too. That's
true. Yeah. So we are drawing towards the end of our time, but I just want to squeeze a few more things in with you, Emma, before we go. online courses and on setting up an online business is something that is one of the top ranking things that people who come along to my Escape the Rat Race meetings, they all want an online business. They want this passive income, and I know obviously your business is a combination of online and offline, but in terms of online business and the courses that you sell, what are some of the benefits and advantages, and why do you think that that is a good way for people to perhaps begin learning about the online world?
It's been pivotal to growing my business that little bit further. We sell online first aid for dogs courses in America and Australia, where they're very popular, and that is great. It's a great profit, because once you've covered your costs, so long as you're not paying for a major platform. So again, be very careful. There are various plugins you can use on WordPress that can give you tremendous functionality in your online courses. So we've got 36 online courses. In fact, actually, we've got 38 now because I wrote 2 more. So we've got 38, and they're all a bit different, but they're all in the basic format where you've got videos, you've got step-by-step directions, you've got infographics, you've got pictures, you've got test yourself sections. They're interactive. You can stop and start as often as you like. And there is a big test yourself section at the end. And it was really important to me that it was compatible with all devices. And my web designer that did all these for me is in Wimbledon.
Right.
He's great. Again, make sure it's in a format that you have control over and that you can easily update them. So when I have an update, so for recently, last couple of months, burn treatment has been updated from 10 minutes under cool running water to 20 minutes under cool running water. So it's really important that my courses are up to date. So you've got to be able to keep them all up to date and sort them, no matter what industry you're in. Don't pay too much as upfront costs to create them. It will cost you money. It will cost you a good few thousands, but spend a lot of time researching different options. I would say think carefully as to what you want to provide. There's lots of platforms that offer you the ability to do short video courses, and if that fits, like Udemy or something, and then they will market them for you. But they will also take a cut. If you want ultimate control, create it yourself. And I'd say there is usually no need to pay a long-term cost. So you shouldn't be paying for your platform. Because if you're paying for your platform, then you've got a continuous fixed cost. Whereas if you've paid for your costs up front, then you know that you've got pretty much 100% profit, which is a very nice situation to be in. And then I can give them away. So I then have the flexibility and the gift to give something that would have value of £97, for example, and the content is incredibly valuable and worth entirely that, but I can offer it to you for free. And it's not costing me anything. So it is of great value to you. And it's a real gift from me. And to get yourself in that situation, I can then offer blended learning. So I am giving you the flexibility that you could do some of my courses, and some of them are regulated courses, with a third online and 2 days in the practical. Now, believe it or not, you'll be prepared to pay more for the flexibility and the added value that the convenience of being able to do that element in your home, and stopping and starting as you want. Actually, it's costing me considerably less than putting a trainer in a classroom for a full day. So you're prepared to pay extra for something that's costing me less, which is a very, very nice situation to be in. It takes a while to get that online market working. And to grow it. It's a slower burn than some of the other businesses that are out. So again, consider your market carefully. And I would suggest initially that you go for an established market and then differentiate in that as an easier way to start getting a return on your investment quicker. And then you can look, once you're more aware of the market and what's happening, you can start looking at further options where you can explore different marketplaces. It's again, I think of old-fashioned marketing, but if you think of your grid and you're in the nice safe bit where you're, existing products and what have you, and then if you're right up in that top corner with a new product in a new market, it's going to cost you more to create that market, because people are much readier readier, that's not even a proper word, but you know what I mean, far more prepared to pay. Again, it depends on the market. So, the Apple are up there. But generally, and it is a generalization, if you've got a really mega tech business, then you might be up there, and that might well be the best place for you, and you might just go like that and leave the rest of us behind. But generally for sort of teaching, coaching, product type businesses, I think start where there is a market and then differentiate it through it. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, always yes. As you said, it begins with identifying that there's someone out there willing to pay you some money. If you don't. I know one of my mentors, Roger Hamilton, who said you don't have a business when you have a product. You have a business when you have a customer. So,
absolutely.
You can spend lots of money and lots of time creating something that in your own head you think is the next best thing. But if no one's actually paid you any money for it yet, then you actually haven't got a business yet.
Absolutely. And I'd go back again to see what people are searching for. Is there a problem they're searching for that your product or service solves? If so, you then need to probe further.
Yeah.
So it might not be that you're there, but probe further and you could well be on with the winner.
So Emma, what advice would you give for someone who's listening right now? Maybe they are squashed up on the train or stuck in the traffic jam on their way to work, and they really want to start their own business, but something's holding them back. Most likely it's fear. What would be your parting words for those people?
Well, look around that tube. There are probably 3/4 of them feeling exactly the same. One of you's got to take the leap. Otherwise, you'll still be doing it in the next 3 years. But just be sure of your passion. Just be sure you want to be living and breathing that for the next few years, because that's what you will be doing if you're making a successful business. It's not an automatic panacea. It won't give you more time. It will give you flexibility to your time. And for goodness sake, if it's what is in your head and what you feel passionate about, and you've done your due diligence, then get your act together and go and do it.
Great advice there. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story and your experiences today, Emma, with our listeners on Escape the Rat Race Radio, and good luck for your business moving forwards.
Thank you very much indeed. I've enjoyed speaking to you.
Thank you.